All right, y'all. It is 12 p.m. on Sunday, July 17th. Welcome to our new show, the Civic Second. What we are doing with this new show is we're going to be covering the city council meetings and the REAC meetings. This is our second show that we've done. And the purpose of this show is to inform, educate, and hopefully activate and empower the community who don't know what's going on, right? And how to get involved and to change that. So today we've got a very special guest, Daryl Riley. We'll be bringing him up in a second. But first, let me bring on Jeff Campbell. Jeff, how you doing today?
I'm doing good. Good.
All right.
Thanks for having me.
Good. I appreciate it. So as many of you know, Jeff has come and done these shows with me. He is an analyst at Olympic College. He is very passionate about homelessness here in Kitsap County. You saw him last week at the barbecue that we threw downtown on MLK. And he's very vested and knowledgeable in what's going on in regards to government and whatnot. So I kind of lean on him to provide me with some of that information. He does some state work. And so I appreciate you taking the time out there, Jeff.
Oh, thanks.
All right. But let me go ahead and bring on our special guest today. Daryl Riley. How you doing today, Daryl?
Afternoon. I'm used to
Say again, you used to what?
I'm used to that.
Yeah, so we're gonna have a good show. I appreciate you coming on, especially last minute. Just to give you a little bit of history, as you know, I do work here in the community, but I don't deal with the politics side of it. And, I just haven't focused on it. And more folks are telling me I need to be in the know and know what's happening because I'm ignorant, right? And so you could be doing a lot of work and trying to do good work, but there's folks and policies and procedures that are working against you in the background. And if you don't know, you don't know, and you're just kind of spinning your wheels. So it's time to get informed, and you can't talk about it. You got to be about it. So this is me trying to educate myself and by proxy, educate the community at large. So I do appreciate you coming on and giving us your intelligence and your knowledge on what's happening, Daryl.
You're very welcome.
You're kind of going in and out. So when you touch your earpiece, you come in.
Is that better?
It is now.
Hold on 1 second.
Yeah, so you muted again.
I think that helped.
As Daryl is getting his system together, let's say good morning to Mr. Rob Dent and Christina. How you doing there, Christina? Good to see you. Christina is a big supporter of the Conduit and, of course, Mr. Riley. So we are excited for that. All right, let's try again there, Daryl.
How's that?
That's good. I like it. All right. So, what I wanted to do first is really kind of educate the community. So what is REAC? What is it?
REAC is the Bremerton Racial Committee of the city of Bremerton. It was formed 2 years ago in August 2022. July 2020, I think it was. And it was intentionally developed to be to the lack of equity, diversity, social unrest, colonialism, all those things wrapped into one. As an opportunity to become engaged more with the issues that affect me. And I take it personally when they talk about, because I understand I don't care if you're Asian, Latino, white, or whatever, gay. If you walk into most of these buildings with me, I'm probably the one that so I took that as a personal personal challenge to get involved and try to help educate the community what equity looks like for me.
Yeah, I remember when I watched a lot when the committee was formed, and there was quite a bit of pushback at that time. To even have the word race in it at that point. I remember Leslie Doggs really pushed it over the finish line there and got the committee going. But if I recall right, it really it led to the change in one member of our city council because of the pushback against the original forming. But I was just when I watched this week, I felt your frustration, and I was yeah, I thought more people really needed to tune into this issue personally.
All right. So
Yeah, well,
before we continue, Jeff, you got some feedback, and then Daryl, Christina's still having a hard time hearing you.
Oh,
me?
Yeah, Daryl, she's still having a hard time hearing you.
Okay.
oh, you know what I think it is? I think that if I don't know. Yeah, I'm not a tech person. Let me step out of this.
So do you have YouTube open?
Do I?
Yeah.
No,
No.
don't.
Okay. And so, Jeff, you got some echo. So just make sure you have everything else closed. And then Daryl, let's keep talking. And Christina, just let me know if Daryl's coming in and out, and then we'll continue on there. Go ahead and I'll follow up on what Jeff was saying there, Daryl.
Well, yeah, and one of the things that struck me and really wanted me to get involved is when I heard Mike Councilman Mike when they were talking about forming this committee, and he said that's like mixing ice cream together and expecting it to taste good. So for me, I knew I had to, because I was already sitting on committees with him members, so I kind of had an idea or working relationship with them, an opportunity for me, based upon where I sit in the community.
All right. So if you would you talk about just some of the current issues that exist?
Well, I don't necessarily want to say we were misinformed by all of the information from the very onset. For example, Bremerton Racial Equity Advisory Committee, the average person, no matter who he is, would think. And we found out several months into it that the mayor ideas that he wasn't a part of that. Things that frustrated us because once we developed our priorities, things that we wanted to focus on in our mission, it included a lot of the things that were under the mayor's control. If he had no involvement in it, then how could that work? So I know the mayor to be a nice guy, and he seems to be a guy that's interested in things of that nature. So we've been working trying to find some type of middle ground, serious discussions about how much impact we can have and what does that look like. But it's been because we're fighting a system, and we're fighting as a system, and the individuals are so engrossed in the system, use the same system to monitor how we fight the system. Frustrating,
right?
it's really disrespectful to me, a white person trying to tell me that I have to figure out how to sway the. I'm not into swaying them to do anything. They work for me. They represent me. And if they're not going to do what's right and what's fair, then they need to say that. And I know for me, it's been the biggest struggle because I'm the only black on. I was the first person that they selected. They selected me and had me to interview everyone else.
So you were the first person selected on REAC?
I was the first person chosen, and they really. So myself and they chose me and one other person. Myself and the other individual, we selected the rest of the individuals through the interview process.
So I want to get into that. Let me play a video, and this is from REAC. This is you, talking during the meeting to give folks context that haven't watched the REAC meeting. So I'm going to go ahead and play that, and then we're going to try to work on your audio because you're still going in and out. So let me go ahead and play this clip here. And it could be your headphones. I'm not sure.
Well, I don't. Without taking up too much time, I would just like to say that there's only one reason, well, probably two reasons that I'm only interested in having it extended. And number one is because I would do the black community a disservice by walking away from this space and allowing all white people except for Glenna to decide on racial equity from that lens. I think I owe it to the black community of Bremerton to do that. That being said, I would also like to see us open this up to people who live in unincorporated Bremerton. You know what I'm saying? In the county areas. Figure out a way to do that, because that's where you're gonna find the real meat at. So that's all I really got to say about that. I really, in all fairness to Anna and Quinn and Jennifer, I'm having a tough time with this because of the intentional bureaucracy that we seem to face. And it's just difficult when everybody else is catching wind of equity and Bremerton is sitting in the middle of the bay with a rowboat with one oar. So it's kind of where I'm at on it. I don't think I want to be extended any more than the first of the year. At the very latest, we could talk about it again if we need to.
When I know the charter is really.
All right, so that's part of it there, and so your time is
a council meeting or an
coming to an end.
Like what?
And you're right now you're so frustrated with what they got going on, and the fact you're talk about the quote where you say you're sitting in the middle in Kitsap County with a rowboat. Are other counties, are other cities doing work? Is it just Bremerton is just being ignorant and willfully being blind to equity and race inclusion? What's happening? You're muted. Yeah, you're still muted. Yeah, you're still muted there.
How's that?
There we go.
I'm sorry about that. Well, what I mean by that is I don't really know what the city of Bremerton is doing. And I think that as a person that's engaged in equity in the community, as a person that is connected to the NAACP and all other black groups in this community, if there was an intentional movement towards equity from the city of Bremerton, then I probably would get wind of it. Because I'm in the spaces where that wind blows, and I also understand that sometimes this can be paralyzing for white politicians. There's a lot of people to appease. You don't know who you're gonna piss off. Um, but you know, I don't live in that fear. I don't live in that space. You know, I've I'm just frustrated with the fact that this committee is there's an intentional effort to watch it die off
Hmm.
and not water it, not nurture it, not repot it, not replant it. There's an intentional effort to watch it die, and I'm just holding on hope that through some other efforts that I've started to make and some other connections I've started to make for the city, um, that eventually something will gain traction. I also think that it's a big problem because I'm the only black person. Um, Everybody don't speak like me. Everybody don't have the freedom to speak like I do, and I'm not the nice preacher, And but I have a space in these places, and I have a purpose to be here as a black male. Um, so with all that being said, I just don't want to, like I said in the video, leave it in the hands of all white people. But by the same token, uh, no pun intended. You know what I'm saying? I'm not there to be the agreeable nod your head type person, because all of this is based on lies. All of this is based on racism. And, I'm going to be the one to not only speak truth to power, but about power.
So let me ask you two questions. I'll mute you while I talk there. So my two questions is this. One, you talk about a freedom that you have to say what's on your mind and say it how it is, right? You don't have to, put any sugar on it. You just tell it straight up. How can white people find that strength and bravery that sit on the council that hold this power to serve the constituents who are us, as well as the ones that wield power over them and influence through dollars or whatever it is? That's one. And then number two, how do black folks get involved when either they are actually vulnerable or appear or feel like they're vulnerable, that there's going to be reprisals, they're going to be blacklisted, blackballed, they're not going to be told about projects, they're not going to be included, they're not going to be invited to the barbecue, right? How do they do that, right? You've got this power and freedom that you're secure, but a lot of black folks aren't. So can you answer those two for me?
Sure. To your first question, white people do have the power to do it, and they ain't stupid. They speak on what they want to speak on.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? They will speak on racial equity, but they won't speak loudly. They won't speak loudly enough. They won't. They'll come and rob from the culture, and glean from the culture, and go sit at a racial equity advisory booth at the Juneteenth fair. But when we talking about substantive conversations, the truth is designed to offend if you live in a lie. And that's where I stand free at. I stand free on the truth. I'm not attacking no one. I'm not angry with the mayor or none of the council members. I voted for him. A lot of them I support. But the fact of the matter is, uh, they got three sides to the truth when it's only two. And there's a fear when power is threatened. So to your second point, how black folks can get involved, all you got to do is go look on the website and find out how you can get involved. it's a lot of committees and a lot of spaces for us to get involved. The reason we don't have much movement is because I'm the only one in these spaces doing the talking. And they don't have a lot of respect for me because I've been to prison and I didn't graduate. I'm not retired from the military. I don't work in the shipyard. You know, I've been to prison. I used to use drugs. I got it out the mud. You know, so that's tainted a lot of people's perception of me, but not mine. So, you know, that's what I got. Black people in this community have to step up. You know?
So answer this part for me.
A lot of spaces for us to get involved.
You know, the question still is, how do those who want to speak up but have been attacked, right? We know, like Deborah Jackson, right? She ran for mayor several years ago, and she was attacked. We know that there were some issues when Tracy Flood ran for her judgeship, you know, and some of that from her own folks. So how does someone stand bold if they don't have that security financially? They work a job, you know, they're not an entrepreneur, so they're fearful of what can happen. What can they do?
Say the same. So as far as those couple issues you spoke of, this is a different time we live in. You know, you can't just treat people of color anyway, any kind of way, and there not be some reprisals for that. So as far as folks worried about their job because they sit on a committee or they're taking part in city government, as far as them being threatened by their job, I think there's laws in place to protect that. And they're open to the Public Meetings Act, so it's all recorded. That's the first point. The second point, when Deborah Jackson ran for mayor, we were in a way different time. You know what I'm saying? We were in a way different times. Plus the fact, and this is just me speaking from this perspective, she got history like I do. And enough time hadn't passed, and she hadn't done enough to kind of dispel that history. You're trying to run from a mayor of a city that's 90% white. And you used to be a sell drugs and do negative things in that community that's well documented. Of course they're going to attack her. That's a threat to the power structure. But we're in a different time now. And I will say this. As black people, white America is not our biggest problem. We are. You know, we are our biggest problem. And as far as people, I didn't get to this point, Marwan, where I don't have to worry about nobody controlling my narrative or my dollar before I start speaking out. I didn't get to that point. I didn't start out at that point. You know, and I think that, you know, you have to have tough skin, you know. Heavy is the head that wears the crown, or at least attempts to put it on. You know the attack's gonna come. That's part of it. I mean, you're not even involved, and you have those type of things, and people saying negative connotations. It's just it starts with us, man. You know, we got to figure out how to work collaboratively instead of competitively, like all other races do.
So let me ask you this. You know, this is it does start with us, and I 100% agree with that sentiment. And before I play the next video, you know, when we look at what happened with Daryl Doggs and then what's happening with you now, you know, this seems to be an ongoing theme in our community where someone will actually go and get into the viper's nest, go and sit and participate and be a part of, and then the community doesn't come and support. So then that person is there just languishing for as long as possible until they just say, okay, I'm done. You know, where you at? I'm willing to do the fight. I'm willing to take the arrows, but where you at? I need you to have my back here, right? And so if you go and there's no one else there, it's like, well, they'll complain and say, well, there's no black people on REAC. It's like, well, hey, I was there. I was doing the work. Where were y'all? I need your support. How do we get past that?
Well, one of the things we have to do is we have to figure out how to create a space for all the black leaders and organizations in this community And I think that's being talked about by Surviving Change, on how to come together and have some tough discussions, uh, and figure out our power, and focus on our similarities instead of our differences. If I have to use a AA cliche, because we're stronger together, and we've never been in this space as in the world before, where people are basically interested about Black equity. What does that look like? And Starbucks does an excellent job at equity, probably better than even anyone else, because they make sure that everybody get their coffee, but you get your coffee like you like it, and that's what equity is. I don't want diversity and inclusion in my coffee. I want equity, fairness, and opportunity in my coffee. Those are the reparations, and we tend to look for the wrong things. Reparations gonna come in a check, from the government. They're not finna give us nothing, bro. They're not finna give Black Americans nothing, except for opportunity. That's where the reparations gonna come from. So we have to get together and figure out what our conducive plan is, and take advantage of the opportunities. When you came to that forum that we had, when they had all the Black communities come in and speak, and how powerful and impactful that was, I felt so validated, because all this stuff I've been screaming in these meetings for the last 2 years, I got the Black community come behind me saying basically the same thing.
Right.
With the same amount of passion. So I think it behooves us to sit around with all of this separate power and not combine it.
Facts. Jeff, you wanted to jump in there? Instagram, follow us on Facebook and YouTube live.
Yeah, well, first of all, I wanted to say that there's the clips are, I don't know if you could put up the link to the clips, where I posted the whole REAC meeting, and it's worth a watch. So I just, if you could share that in the chat. But the other thing I wanted to bring up was that there were two specific REAC things that came up during that meeting that, well, okay. The first thing is that Aaron Leidick had talked about the budget. How do we impact the budget? How do we bring equity to the budget process, and even get involved in that discussion? And there was kind of, well, what do you mean? What do you mean affect the budget? And that was one thing that I was like, wait, what's, that's yes, we should be talking about equity at the budget level and during that whole process. And the other thing that came up that kind of surprised me, or not surprised me, but was what was I going to say? Oh, how they just dropped that bombshell on you. How they'd taken your words to develop the goals of the committee, and if I understand right, they dropped race from the goals. Like, they didn't mention race in the goals at all. So those two things. I don't know if you could speak to those two things.
Well, that even adds more of a bit of disappointment to the situation, seeing as how Council President Michael Goodnow is one of the original members of REAC. And since he became Council President, we ain't heard a peep from him. I find that to be extremely disappointing. I think the word race is removed intentionally. That's not a that's not a major secret. It's uncomfortable, and people that don't want to be uncomfortable don't want to grow. Growing requires stretching yourself and being uncomfortable, and that's what we have here. And I could say a lot more about my personal opinions about individuals and how the structure of the council is manipulated by personal ideologies and personal personalities and tenure and all of that thing. But instead, I'm just trying to get different people to run against them folks. Preferably people who look like me. And they don't have to look like me. Just have an ear for equity. Just an ear for it. Because and I don't dislike Anna Mockler, but I'm tired of her. You know what I'm saying? You keep insulting me every time you open your mouth because you don't know what the fuck you talking about. Excuse my language, Marwan.
Oh no, it's all good.
She's so insulting and disrespectful because she don't know what she's talking about. She means well. She means well, but you know, yeah, it just it's an intentional effort, and I'm just hoping. One of the things that I'm holding out hope for is that we're starting to have discussions with legal, the city attorney, about redrafting this thing because that's what we should have did at first. We should have read more closely and looked at it, the draft ourselves. All of the content that they tried to change, we created that. At our retreat, they didn't create none of this. So I'm offended by that, highly. But I know they don't care, and I don't. I usually don't put myself in the position to be the one represent REAC to the city council because I know they don't give a damn about me. They don't like me. They don't like my approach. They don't like my freedom. They don't like a lot about me, but they have to respect me.
Well, why don't we do this? Let's play the second part of this video and then get your response on the other side here.
We're on here is like update on Bremerton City Council activities, and it's action item follow-ups, and I have a few action items from the notes from last time that aren't specifically enumerated under A here, but I want to ask about them now. That's why I'm bringing it up now. So
is this relevant to the July 27th study session presentation?
No, that's what I'm saying, Anna. The action item follow-ups I have are not any one of those 4 bullet points. They are other action items that from last meeting that are Bremerton City Council activities related. They're just not bullet pointed out here. And so I'm bringing them up now because they're all related to things Quinn was going to do. And since I raised my hand when Quinn was talking about various things he was following up on. So I wanted to find out about these as well.
I'm going to pause a few times as we go through this. One of the things that I recognized from this, Daryl, was honestly more concerned with making sure the meeting ended on time. You already only meet once a month. And, there's so much work to do. And you've got some folks that are missing. But just trying to push it through and, well, maybe we can talk about this later and just kind of pushing stuff off. And, I mean, it was extremely... man, what's the word I'm looking for? It appeared to me that she was an obstructionist to the whole situation. And this is my first real, watching REAC, being a part of it. So being an outsider and watching it, she was leading the meeting here. And so she's the facilitator. But it seemed like she wasn't interested in any of the actual work, but just the procedures of the meeting. Let me continue.
Well, I would suggest that perhaps we get through the agenda that we've approved and then move on to your agenda items.
They're not new. They're just action item follow-ups on Bremerton City Council activities. That's why I'm bringing them up now, because that's the topic we're on is Bremerton City Council activities.
Well, I would prefer to keep moving, but what's the consensus of the group?
Also, there were a lot of I statements. It was all about her. It wasn't about the group. It was just, I want to do this. I think this should happen. It was very bizarre.
I'm fine with it, Aaron.
Yeah, okay. Please go ahead.
Okay, Quinn, one thing, the action item you had here was Quinn was going to tell City IT that community members on Bremerton REAC still have not been issued city email addresses so that we can access the GEAR portal.
Yes.
That's under old business.
Oh, sorry if I'm not, I must not have seen it there. Okay, so never mind, we could talk about it there.
Okay, you're sure?
There was one more, and maybe I missed it elsewhere on the agenda, was Quinn was going to find out how our advice on anything related to the 2023 budget might fit into the Finance Committee's timeline of the budgeting process.
Yes. And Jennifer has some more information on this. She kind of took that task we are going to put forward a budget proposal for REAC at the next meeting on the agenda item. So
Not a budget for this committee. This action item was you were going to find out how our advice on anything related to the 2023 budget would fit into the finance committee timeline for working that budget up. You're on mute.
Sorry, maybe I'm misunderstanding the question, but the timeline for the finance committee regarding our advice, or
here, I'll state it a different way. So it's written in the notes from last time. So last time we were talking about how do we as REAC get advice to the city council, especially related to the budget for 2023, since that's where a lot of equity issues get implemented. And when we talked about that last meeting, somebody, I can't remember who, said, well, the finance committee is the one that timelines out the budgeting process. And so the action item you took away at the last meeting was that you were going to find out how our advice that we want to give related to the 2023 budget, where it would need to fit within the finance committee's timeline for working on that budget document, so that we aren't late to be able to give it, so that we don't go to give advice in December and they say, well, we're already too far past for advice like that. You were going to find out where in their timeline we would be able to give advice.
Got you. I see what you're saying now. Yeah, so the way that we get advice to city council, and this has been explained to me by multiple people, is through the chair. So we have chair reports and committee reports, and that's the way that city council wants advice coming from any committees, is through the chair during their chair reports. As far as the budget cycle, it is going to come out in October. And so anything that we need to be doing for asking for any sort of budgeting process to get ahead of that needs to be happening before the mayor actually does it. And it looks like Christine has
The budget's posted 10/19.
Finance deadline for department budgets is July 28th. And so that's just department budgets. Christine, does that include any sort of committee budgets, or?
Thank you, Chris. That's what I'm asking for, Quinn. Thank you, Christine, because I wasn't talking about budget for this committee. Well, the thing that came up last meeting was when you look at a budget for a jurisdiction at the deep level, what departments spend, what is spent everywhere, an equity analysis applies to it. And when that came up last meeting, somebody, it might have been Jennifer, I can't remember, said, it's really the finance committee that does the early work on drafting the budget. So we would need to find out from them at what point in their early work do they need to get advice on how to think of that with a race equity lens, right? And that's when you said you would go back to not the city council, but the finance committee to find out at what point in their process they need to get that deeper advice for us in order to implement it. And it sounds like what Christine is saying is that they're going to be doing their work on city department budgets, having the deadline on that July 28th, which leads me to what are we going to do in the next 2 weeks to try to bring some race equity lens to that work? Because that is where ultimately in the 2023 budget, we're going to be seeing either the money, frankly, like the resources to be put towards doing this or not. So we're going to be talking about when we get—
Excellent.
Sorry, I'm almost finished, Anna. When we get to talking about the July 27th thing we're going to be presenting to study session.
Well, what is she saying excellent to? He's not even done with his thought. Daryl, you want to jump in here? And just, if either one of you want to jump in, just tell me in the chat.
Well, I think in all fairness to Anna, number one, that was her first time facilitating the meeting. I'll give her that. The second point I'll give her is that she's trying to find her way in the job itself. And I understand that. The third point is this work isn't as important to her. It's tiresome to them because they can't get beyond their ignorance by reading about it.
Mm-hmm.
You feel me? They're offended that I'm the subject matter expert because of my lived experiences. That pisses them off because They can't overtop that. And I'm kind of trying to hold my facial expressions every time she does that, because I really want to just start cursing her out. You know what I'm saying? See, that's part of the bureaucracy. You put somebody there that don't know what they're doing so they can frustrate the process.
Right.
Jennifer Chamberlain is even worse. I listened to her on with you. So it's almost like taking me or you and putting us up to do a lecture on brain surgery. We're gonna be trying to hurry up and get out of there because we can't really facilitate that.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of equate that to the same. Her uncomfortableness. This makes people uncomfortable, man.
Why they even join the group?
Well, she didn't join. They were appointed. The council president gave us them. See, we had different people. But once the new election was over and the council president shuffle happened and Goodnow became president, he threw her and Jennifer over there to kind of babysit us. Quinn was already, they got all the new council people on there with us, who are kind of the lowest people on the totem pole. And they know ain't much traction gonna come from them. There's not council leadership there.
Jeff, jump in there. You had a comment.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess I do want to stick up for the city council members in this way. Also, that they've got an impossible task. They're paid hardly at all. They're supposed to do everything they can in 10 hours. They're like, well, get it done in 10 hours. And so it's really a problem of good government, and the systemic problems in how our government is set up right now. I mean, and this is going way beyond. Well, I don't know, maybe this is getting at the heart of this conversation. But you have a mayor that essentially makes all the decisions, holds all the information, doles it out as you've got people working 10 hours a week with no experts to support them, no staff to support them. So it's a no-win situation for the city council. So I do feel it from that standpoint, but that's the only thing I wanted to add about that. I would love to see the budget process get open. I would love to see our whole government get opened up a lot more than it is.
I don't know I don't know. I'm not really sure what the fear is. I'm not really sure on making the movement. If we're trying to fight structures of institutional racism, then we can't use a lot of those same structures to govern the Racial Equity Advisory Committee, because all we're doing is offering advice. You put us in place as people who know what they're talking about on how to help the city. We're not there to fight the city. We're not there to burn the building down or have them fire all the white folks and put all black folks in. We don't. That's not the objective. The objective is to put strategic mechanisms in place that will create fairness across the board. That's all it is. You're not going to lose your house. You're not going to lose your place in society. Nobody's coming after your retirement. And that's the frustrating part. We just trying to make the playing field fair. I'm not there to fight nobody. I'm not there to create no enemies. But I'm unmovable and unshakable on what fairness and equity looks like, because I'm in a space in my life where I can take advantage of that. I just want that for everybody.
I'll say, the one pushback that I'll point out is, I get that they get $1,000 a month, and that's laughable. But we don't get paid to do the work that we do. We don't get paid to exist. And so when we're sitting on these committees and these boards and, providing our lived experience, as Daryl was saying, and sharing our pain and being an advocate, that's uncompensated, and that's draining, right? So, Daryl's absolutely right.
Proceed to the rest of
she's exasperated and tired. And I was like, well, we tired, you know, but the work got to get done. So, I mean, what you doing? What you doing? Let me go into this next clip here.
Item 5, is that okay by everybody? Because we're coming up on what I think will be of use and to the purpose of the committee, which is to give advice to city council. And that's the presentation that Glenna, Daryl, and Aaron have been working on. Do we need to discuss the goals and priorities update from the city council retreat? Has everyone received that?
So I can give an update on that if that makes sense for me. We are voting next week for the council goals and priorities from the retreat. I let them know that I was going to come back to the committee and see if you guys had any recommendations based on what has already kind of gone through. I put together basically a list and wording and submitted it to council. Council kind of took it, did some some rejections and some exceptions. The main things, I'll send out the actual writing. I can send that out this week. But the main things that they did agree on and do want to put forward is the encouraging GARE training for all employees, working with the mayor to hire a consultant to kind of figure out if we are going to be moving forward with like a full-time staff member for, we say DEI. I know that term isn't, but I don't know another term for it, but like basically a DEI chief. Then we also have accepting REAC recommendations, along with anything else that is being proposed by the committee will be under consideration. So that's actually going to be in the council goals and priorities stated. And then, Anna, am I missing anything else that we?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Yes, you're missing, you sent out the goals and priorities to everybody on this committee, right, for their review? So that was my question, is did everybody get it? No. Okay, I'm going to put that in the chat right now. Please go on, Quinn.
Yeah, thanks. I think things that were rejected were it doesn't look like there's traction for getting actual paid membership on the committee. That for that they are kind of pushing back and saying no other committee is being paid. So that's something that I don't think is going to be approved by council, at least at this juncture. Other things that I think are the biggest thing is oh, sorry, Christine put it in, equity and government coordinates.
I was just going to say that. Yeah,
so
Christine already put it in.
That's really what is something that the full council is agreeing to put into their goals and priorities. But I did let them know that I was going to come back to you all and see if you had any revisions. Again, this is an advisory committee, so we can't force council to do anything, but I can certainly take it back to them as chair and say, hey, they really want to push X, Y, or Z, and see if they want to accept any of those.
Can all of you see that in the chat? Okay.
Quinn, you did not email that to us, did you? That's been referenced.
Sorry, what is that?
Anna said the document you took before city council, which I think some of it is just put in the chat. That didn't get emailed out to us, correct? This is the first time we're seeing this language, right?
So this is the language that we consolidated post community conversation and the goals and priorities that came out of that. So like the 83%, the 53%. So basically the language that I presented to council, Aaron, was from your slides that you consolidated from the community conversation.
Got it. This is your rewriting of that. Okay. I was trying to.
Yeah, you're like, where did this come from?
I referred to you sending it out to the committee, and I'm just clarifying this version of it we didn't see. This is the first time we're seeing it.
Yeah, the version you're looking at right now is what council then did with the information that I gave them. So I can share with you the language. It's the same language from the PowerPoint, basically, of the recommendations that came from community. Then during our retreat, it went through debate, and this number 7 that Christine put up is what the council is willing to vote on as a council goal and priority. So as you can see, some of the stuff they rejected, some of the stuff they were on board with.
Yeah, Sarah, go ahead. Sarah, you're muted. Sarah, please, there you go.
I was having trouble getting my cursor over there.
No worries.
You said, just now, Quinn, you said this is something they will vote on, or they did in fact vote on?
Yeah, so at the retreat, we kind of went through a big brainstorming kind of retreat session, and we all came to consensus that this was the language that we could all agree to, that people would be willing to go through. Then Lori sent out that language. This is just one part. It's number 7. There's a lot of other goals, and people on council had time to put in input. We also talked about it at the study session, and so we're going to be voting on it next council, which is next week. And I let them know that I was going to be sharing this language with you all to get any input, and I'll advocate for any input that you all are kind of wanting and that I believe in.
Yes, Sarah, please go ahead.
Yeah, that's very encouraging. It's really good to hear that it was discussed and that there is there's consensus around taking action. I think I I'm seeing this language for the first time also, which doesn't mean it wasn't sent. I might have missed it, but anyway, I don't remember seeing this. It's not clear to me what it means to say coordinate with the mayor on reviewing and implementing policies and programs. Who's coordinating?
This is what the language is like in all of the goals and priorities, Sarah. It's all extremely vague.
Policies and programs regarding equity with a race equity lens. Is there anything about reviewing, and who is doing the reviewing and to what end, that makes it even have any substance to it? I'm sorry.
And that's something.
No, it's an excellent question.
And that's something that I was hoping somebody would bring this up. I didn't want to guide it. I want the information. I want to be advocating for what community wants and what you all want. But
I just wanted to pause there for a second and get comments. But what Quinn said there was interesting. If you know something, then share it. So if you're saying, well, I don't want to say anything, I don't want to, I hope you would get there on your own. How are you helping if you have this information and you holding it back and you just, hopefully we just stumble across it?
You got to understand that these are all white folks. What they are not aware of is just what they aren't aware of. Now, in saying that, it's kind of difficult to be in an all white meeting to push a racial agenda. That's a difficult space to be in. And Quinn's a lawyer, so he knows how to navigate the language. But I think he's doing a good job. I just think overall that we shouldn't probably, and I'm not speaking for the committee, but I wouldn't like to see Ms. Mockler, Councilperson Mockler, facilitated anymore. Mm-hmm. It just became real disrespectful and uncomfortable, and extremely frustrating. We're already dragging, and then you don't even want us to ask questions. It seems like we're asking important questions, substantive questions. I can see if we were just up there raising hell, but I never come to any of these meetings raising hell. I have substantive questions, and I think that these leaders, they represent us, so I should be able to ask questions.
Jeff, you wanted me to slow down on this piece? So, give me your feedback on Sarah there.
Oh, I don't really have anything to add. I mean, that's the same thing.
All right. Let me finish this last little piece out. It's about a minute and a half left.
Basically, yeah, there was kind of a watering down of language to go to like all equity rather than, hey, we need to focus on race equity. And I want to push back on that. I would like to put programs and policies to support race equity, something to firm that up. And I was hoping that you all might want to submit. And what I was hoping you would do is just shoot an email with suggestions to city council, and they will get it to me. I won't be responding to it to violate quorum, and I will be able to talk about that when that agenda item comes up next week. So if
and for me, this is the great trick bag for me. When I think about the civil rights movement, white women ended up getting a lot of the benefit from the civil rights era. And now what you're seeing is the same thing where the LGBTQ plus community is doing the exact same thing. And white women are still doing the same thing. And so with trying to remove the word race out of it and, let's just be equitable, we just get pushed back to the bottom again. So this is very frustrating. I see this all the time. And even in our current politics, it's like, oh, we've got a gay person on the council. We've got, we're diverse, but we still have that absence of race, and it just keeps getting pushed down, right? Go ahead. Let me unmute you, Daryl. Say that again.
It wouldn't even matter the makeup of the council if they took the position that they're public servants. It's the will of the people. It's not what they think. They're not even considering asking the people. How can you just make up stuff saying this is for people of color when you're not asking them? So those are my frustrations. And then what really set me off at the end, she's talking about we got to have language that sways the council. Mm-hmm. Why should we have to sway them to do what they're supposed to do, what they said they were going to do. That's offensive to me. We talking about equity. We talking about people that look like me, more or less. And you're telling me I got to speak sweet and softly and nice and basically kiss their tail to get them to do their job. That's offensive to me.
Yeah, another thing that's odd, and I understand that they have this duality of role, but when they speak about the council, they say, okay, REAC, y'all need to do this and bring it to council. Like they're not a part of REAC. It's just a very strange way that they see themselves in this space. What are your thoughts on that, Daryl? Because that seems problematic to me. And then, if they are new and this isn't going to change, how much is REAC actually going to be able to do if, even if they're unwitting obstructionists, they're obstructionists?
Well, the difficult thing about this whole thing is that without the mayor's involvement and the city collaborating as a whole on equity and what that looks like, we're going to continue to have this. It's almost like trying to run a car with two wheels flat, or no tires on two sides. And I understand the mayor might be involved in some discussions as it relates to equity or however they're trying to do that. But that creates another problem because you have mostly all white folks in the room making these decisions. You don't have the people on the Racial Equity Advisory Committee who are supposed to be the subject matter experts, who's supposed to offer this advice.
Go ahead, Jeff.
Yeah, just a little background to that. So yeah, it sounds like if I was reading between the lines there, Daryl, so it sounds like the mayor is moving ahead with hiring a DEI specialist, and I saw you rolling your eyes about that. Yeah, what is the background of that part of the story?
I see, and that's what we're not sure on. That's what we have no knowledge on. We asked through the council chair. Well, if we're both doing the same work, if we're both trying to figure out the same steps, then why isn't there some collaboration? Because I'm pretty sure there are a lot of blind spots over there for them, including the mayor. He's a white man. What he doesn't know because of his own lived experiences. That doesn't make him a bad guy. But, as the CEO and the manager of this big operation called Bremerton, I would want to go out here and find out who doing what and what they know that would help me move that further along. I wouldn't go the same old route that we've been going and asking the same old people and doing the same old things. Because as you can see, we have very limited experience on the council as it pertains to equity and what that really looks like. So I really don't know what's going on. I couldn't answer you. I would love to know. We've asked, could we be privy to some of the information, how that's going on and how that's going along? Because it's unfortunate that the people on the Racial Equity Advisory Committee, I say this with all humility, we've been doing this work out here for years. We've been impactful and substantive, and we have a lot of information. And for the city not to take advantage of that is really disappointing, because what I've learned about the city is before they make a decision, before the mayor presents anything to the city council, he's called in his subject matter experts. He's weighed the costs. He's done his research. Well, in this case, we're the research. And that's not happening. It's almost like, well, I'll just talk about me. Oh, that's just Daryl. He's just over there raising a little hell. You know what I'm saying? And it's a little it's pretty frustrating because it's a simple act. It's not a major thing that has to be done. Every black person that I know, you talked about rolling your eyes. That's the same expression all black people have when we hear diversity and inclusion. We roll our eyes. Here we go with that shit again. We know what that means. So I would like to see him call it something else.
What's interesting too is, money will be poured into consultants and subject matter experts, but this never ever seems to get funded, right? You're just supposed to give it up for free as usual. Now I'm a solutions-based person, So Daryl, if things are going to go differently, let's say there was a magic wand, what would need to happen to change things and start having things looked at through a race equity lens? What would need to change? And then how do we work toward being there? And then my last question is how do we get involved in this?
Well, I think what needs to change is probably what we are in the beginning stages of now, and that's with having some preliminary discussions with the city attorney about redrafting REAC's purpose and the information, how the charter reads, if you will, and before that's complete, try to have another discussion with the mayor, because it's not a good look. It's not a good look. I don't know who's doing the judging from the outside in, but it's not a good look to have the Racial Equity Advisory Committee over here advising the council and the mayor not having anything to do with it. That just doesn't pan in any other city. Mm-hmm. That doesn't work in any other space, so it can't work here. So I think in order to change it, we're having some discussions with legal, and I'm going to be adamant about trying to see the mayor's position on this and how we can come alongside him to enhance what he's doing. Because he's the city manager. He's the CEO of the city. He has to sign off on it. But he also has to be, I won't say smart, but he has to be wise. And that's a difference. He has to have the wisdom to understand the win that developing equity with black people would do for the entire city and not just his candidacy. Mm-hmm. We got substantive black people here that are contributing on a major scale. I'm days away from being one of the first ever black franchise owners in this community. That's impactful, man, and I think we should be commended. We should be brought in to discuss these things, and you can't be intimidated by what you don't know. You can't. For me, I only want people that are smarter than me around me. If I'm the smartest one in the room, I'm in the wrong room. So that's just kind of how I roll. That's what I would like to see. I think that we need to have more community members of color apply for the Racial Equity Advisory Committee. Nothing happens overnight. It's a fight. We don't like all of the things that are going on, but that's why we have the committee itself, to address those things. And, more of us addressing it, we'll get some traction.
Go ahead, Jeff.
So I would sound like I'm going crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead, Jeff. Get your hand up.
Yeah, one of the things I would love to see people push back on was just the blanket, no, we're not going to pay people to be on our committees. Well, that is an equity issue. That is absolutely an equity issue that should be discussed a lot more. Who can participate and take their time out and do these committees? I don't know. And they just said, no, I didn't. I was on a committee. I didn't get paid. Well, I don't know. I think that's a good place to push back.
You got to understand how the council makeup. Now, it's only one person pulling the strings on the council, and we know who that is. He's the one without a position on the council. He's the one that's been on there the longest. So that sounds like something coming from him. When it comes to numbers, he's the guy that speaks on all of those issues. So you kind of understand who you're working with, man, what you're dealing with. It's all right if they don't want to pay us, but that's based out of fear. That ignorance is based out of fear.
And you're right. We can pay for all these experts, but not this expert. Yeah, that's bull.
Well, I'm just thankful for the opportunity to be in them spaces. I don't take it lightly. I don't look at it as an opportunity to enhance my resume. I think I'm privileged to bring my social capital to that committee. And stand up for my community. I know the community, the black people in the community that know I'm on the Racial Equity Advisory Committee. They know they got a real one.
Mhm.
They know they ain't gonna got nobody that's gonna get in there and fold over for them, and not speak on the essence of our behalf. So I'm proud of that.
You know, as we kind of wrap up, what I wanted to ask you was, what are the duties, the responsibilities of someone who would consider joining REAC? And I wanted to make another comment of what Anna was stating earlier. Sarah was making a statement, and she said, "Well, this is how all the language is in the paperwork." And again, if we're going to do things a different way, then things have to be done a different way. Now, they change laws and policies and procedures when it suits them. So then you change the laws, the policies, and the procedures because this it doesn't work this way. So I just wanted to make that comment. But Daryl, can you share with us what are the duties? What would be required of someone who wanted to join REAC and get involved?
I would say just studying up on the issues, studying up on where we are, just having a clear vision of what equity is and helping us move along. Because even though we've been in existence for 2 years, we're kind of like getting ready to have to start over to revamp the legal part of it. Initially, it was just kind of thrown together and it was passed with very little structure.
Mhm.
So we want to look at we're in the beginning stages of that, and all you would have to do is be a city resident and show up for the meetings once a month. We have subcommittee meetings. Most of the work that we are doing is through the Change the Power Committee that I'm a part of. We have 3 separate committees, but we don't have enough people to fill them all. So we're just kind of looking for people and to come in and explain what equity looks like to them and add to the recipe.
What is the change the power committee?
So we developed 3 subcommittees from the Racial Equity Advisory Committee. One was education and communication. One was black BIPOC businesses, business structure or something like that, and the other one was change the power. And then through our retreat, we went through what's called a swap that separates your weaknesses and your strengths.
Mhm.
And we came up with subjects or different spaces within city government and the community that we wanted to focus on, where we could touch them all. And city government was one. So that's where the change the power. That's where the real power is in city government. So we just named it the Change the Power Group. I think that's what's here to
So we know that Naomi is going to be joining REAC. How many spaces are there for REAC? Is that the last space? Because there's 4 more.
No, so with Naomi, I think there's 5 with Naomi. It should be 7.
Mm.
So there are 2 more positions open. It should be a total of 10 with 7 citizen members and 3 council members. And to be honest with you, we need some new voices in there because we've been saying the same thing for 2 years. They ain't hear nobody else say the same thing.
Mm.
And they figuring they're gonna wear us down with all this bureaucracy. But before I get tired, I'll move on somewhere else where I can be more impactful doing the same work. I'm not going to spend all my social capital right there.
Absolutely. So I take it they can go to the website and get the application and fill that out. So I will share that information with them. Aside from them 2 spots, what can folks do? Because once those 2 spots are filled, there's a lot of us out here that need to be activated and that support and have our voices heard.
I think the important part is to attend the meetings and keep the committee members held accountable, including myself. As to what we should be discussing, what we should ask for, what's important. We talk about those things a lot. We don't just want to come in there with flimsy ideas. And I think one of the biggest problems for the council is we're coming with real substantive questions because they're having a difficult time answering. So their frustration is starting to show. And we've decided that one of the first things I asked the group when we first got together was to give me one word to define what this work is. And everybody had all these fluffy words and all of this, but my word is that it was a fight. I knew we were in for a fight, and now everybody's seeing that. So, I would just implore more people to attend the meetings. Ask the mayor to attend the meetings. He might hear something that triggers something in his mind that he can possibly use to further his agenda, whatever that is. But you can't leave these holes in city government, these blind spots in city government, and expect only one DEI chief to come in and fix it. I think that's setting that person up for failure. That's almost like hiring a black chief of police in Bremerton. You're setting a person up for failure when you need to go inside of these systems. And hopefully the mayor will get wind of this and he will start trying to ask different questions because I don't think they're asking the right questions.
Well, I definitely agree. He needs to at least be present in the meetings to know what's going on. So what I will be doing is I will be covering this live. And I'm assuming that when it's open for public comment, they can comment on anything and not just the topic. And I didn't realize that on Thursday or whenever that meeting was. So I thought it was just comments for that in particular. So I'm like, okay, no, it's open to make any kind of comment. And one of my comments or my question was, okay, so the mayor gave $1,000 to Juneteenth, right? How much is given to the Blackberry Festival? How much money is given to shut down the Manette Bridge to have the fireworks a week before the 4th of July? Where's that money coming from? So that's a question that I had, and I have a lot more. So I encourage you to subscribe, like, and share, tune in. And we reached out to City Council. And for those that don't have access to the internet, you can come on. They've said that you can come on with me and then just back to back, do your 3-minute comment. So there's power in numbers, and it's time to make your voice heard. Also, you can also submit your comments if you're not going to be available on that particular day, and I will try to push that forward also. Jeff, I'm going to get your final comment, and I'm going to give Daryl the final word there. Go ahead, Jeff.
What a great show. Thank you for letting me sit in and be part of this. And I would urge everybody to raise your voices. The more people that participate in government, the better our government's going to get. So thanks.
Just to piggyback on that too, we were having a conversation with the Coulier and Reverend Ellington, and we can't be in all places at once, but we can split up and do the work. You go to this meeting and come back and report to the group. You go to this meeting, you come back and report to the group. You don't have to attend every single meeting. We're busy folks and we got a lot going on. So, but we got to do something. Daryl, I'm gonna give you the final word.
Well, man, I just want to thank you for this space. Thank you for inviting me. It's important. Jeff, is it right? Jeff, good meeting you, man. And I see you full of wisdom and knowledge, and I appreciate you speaking to the facts. I would just like to see more of us start to participate. If more of us are saying the same things, eventually things will change. I don't want to seem adversarial in those spaces, but so much is wrong with the process and how it's working too. I just can't sit silently and watch that. I've been to prison a few times, so anything that tries to imprison me, I'm real sensitive to it. So I think we'll get there. We don't have an unreasonable mayor. We don't have a racist mayor. We don't have a racist council makeup. But what you don't know, you don't know. You know what I'm saying? And for me, if I don't know something, I would try to go to somebody and find out. So I would hope that they don't proceed to draft all these DEI plans and policies and not talk to the black community about that. Because if you what the mayor needs to know is how the black community is doing. When we talk about racial equity, we ain't talking about natives and Asians and Latin. We're not talking about them.
Mm-hmm.
We're not talking about them. You can say what you want to say. We talk about race. We talking about black people.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Let's narrow this down and understand what the focus is, and stop trying to convolute it with all this other stuff. BIPOC, and I'm the only person that's getting discriminated against when I walk in City Hall. Get the side eye, get them clutching their purses, get them looking at me crazy. They don't do that to the Asian guy or the gay white guy or the native guy. They don't have those issues. So, again, thank you for your time, man, and let's keep fighting, Marwan.
Well, I'm in the space now. It's taken me too long to get here, but better late than never. So I'm gonna use my platform in the way that I can. My saying is power is taken, it is not given, and so it's time for us to take our power. You mentioned something just really quickly, about how you appear in spaces, and City Council had their meeting, and Dr. Lillian came on and was asking for money for her STEM program, and so I was like, oh, what are these ARPA funds? I had never heard of these ARPA funds, right? So I was like, hey, Akuye, there's some ARPA funds out here. What's going on? She's like, well, I'm going to go down to the mayor and talk to the mayor. So she's calling the office all day Friday. No one's answering the phone. She gets down there. It's 9 to 12 on a Friday. She comes. She goes and asks a question. The front desk, well, I'm going to have to get some information on that. I don't know. Send me an email, and I'll get you the info. So she leaves. She gets in the elevator. One of the people from behind the desk comes running behind, gets in the elevator, and now is interrogating her. Well, what kind of programs you run? This and that. Rode the elevator down with her, asked her all the questions. Akuya got out the elevator, walked out, and the woman got back in the elevator and went right back to the office. And I mean that's how that presents. That's what that looks like, right? So how is it that, one, we don't know about these funds that are there? And I see, KCR got 2 bites of that apple, Coffee Oasis got that bite of the apple, but there's other organizations that are out here doing the work. And so we have to get in here and know what's there, what's available. We have to share that information out. And so that is my intent. And so I'm just going to continue to do the work. Did you want to make a comment on that, Daryl?
No, I think it's important. We miss a lot of opportunities. When I said earlier that black people's biggest problem is black people,
Mm-hmm.
because a lot of us are no opportunities and spaces for somebody else to thrive, and we won't even say nothing. We won't even pass that information along. And reparations is coming for us through opportunities, not through a check. So we should be more willing to share those ideologies and spaces.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, sir. I appreciate you tremendously. I know you probably got a busy day ahead of you, so we're going to go ahead. If you want to stay on, you can stay on. But what I did want to do is I wanted to show people what the ARPA funds were. I wanted to go over that Excel document so you know what it is. That deadline is coming up. I sent an email to the mayor. I'm going to show you that email and his response. And then once we have more information on what the application looks like, we're going to share that out. So I don't know if this money is going to be around next year, but it's here now. So if you've got a program and it fits the parameters, then jump in there and see what you can do. So, yeah, Daryl, if you have to jump off. But I appreciate you for sure. Thank you. All right, Jeff, and you as well. If you want to stay on, you can stay on. If you want to jump off, jump off. But we usually go for quite a while. So, all right. So, let me go ahead and pull that up here. That was a really good interview. What do you think about that there, Jeff?
That was really good, really good. Yeah, a lot of information there. And also, I would urge people to go back, and watch the city council, uh, the 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 Race Equity Advisory Committee meeting. Um, there's a
I wanted. Oh, go ahead. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
no, I think they could use a lot of community support right now. So the more voices that can just kind of back them up and say, yeah, yeah, um, and they are working with some difficult challenges, and so it's going to take a lot of voices.
I wanted to ask you too. One, I wanted to thank you for taking the time out and taking these snippets of the actual meeting and putting them on there. And I wanted to ask you, would you be willing to have them post on the conduit so folks can see that? Because I don't have the time to edit
Yeah,
them into those digestible bites,
yeah,
but I think that would be fantastic.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I think anybody can download them and share them anywhere. I don't think there's any restrictions on YouTube for downloading those. It's all public anyways. But yeah, however I can help you facilitate that, let me know. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be fantastic. So let me go
More
ahead
eyes the better on
and
all this. So
yeah,
and whatever makes it easier for people to see it, I'm all in favor of it. Yeah.
facts. All right, so let me go ahead and share my screen here. Not that screen. Let me see. Boom, boom, boom. Oh, and also I need to mention that email and phone number is for the city council. So if you have questions, comments, concerns, reach out to them, right? It is time to make our voices heard. And that is the way that change is going to happen. Do understand that. If you think they're going to get there on their own, they're not. Because if that was the case, we'd already been there, right? All right, so the first thing that I wanted to show you here, and I'll go ahead and put this link in the chat here. I am at the city website here, and this is the information on REAC. Let me see if I can zoom in on that, and let me also get rid of this, their information down there.
And I don't know Glenna. She's new to me. But I know Sarah Van Gelder and I know Aaron Leidick very well, and they're just really great thinkers and speakers, and I always am interested in what they have to say.
Yeah, so here are the council members here. The application for city boards and commissioners is right here. There's a quick link, and I will open this up and we'll take a look at it because I've never seen it. This talks about the responsibilities, possible responsibilities. The purpose of REACT to advise the city council by applying a race equity analysis to all aspects of governance and to maintain engagement with accountability to other work being done throughout the Bremerton community in service of race equity. The vision of REACT, Bremerton Race Equity Advisory Committee, envisions a city that strives to continually dismantle its own institutional racism within policies, programs, budget initiatives, legislation, systems, and infrastructure, amplifies, and joins racially, culturally, and socially integrated community endeavors toward equity, well-being, and liberation for all, and aspires to model for the nation a city in which people of different races, ethnicities, and backgrounds can interact from friendships and participate fully in the community's political, educational, cultural, and civic endeavors. REACT meetings are held monthly on the second Thursday beginning at 6 p.m. unless otherwise noted. So I will again be covering these live. And again, there is a public comment for REACT. What's great about this is after the city council meeting. So there may be some things that you heard from city council that you want to bring up at the REACT meeting. And so you'll have your 3 minutes. So again, please join me. I think Jeff will probably be with us also, unless he's otherwise engaged. And, be ready to speak up, and talk about your concerns. Because again, there's power in the many of the voice there. All right, so let's go ahead and click over here. That just talks about the meetings there. Now, let me pull up this definition. So I needed to figure out what was ARPA, right? And shout out to Aaron. made a phone call. I was like, Aaron, do you know about these funds? And he was like, well, why don't you Google it? You know, and so we Googled it, and then you know, I was able to figure out what ARPA was. So this is the American Rescue Plan Act, which was passed by Congress in March of 2021, which will deliver $350 billion in emergency funding to eligible state, local, and tribal governments. The city of Everett will receive, and this was based on Everett here. But that's what these funds were. And on the city's website, there is a link here with an Excel document for the 2022 CDBG PRC funding recommendations. And so you can click on that, save it, and then we're just going to open this puppy. And let me just slide that on over. So we can see that here. Whoops. Macs make you always resize things. It's so frustrating. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and zoom in on here. Try to make that legible. All right, so the 2022 Community Development Block Grant application for funding. Here's the 2022 estimated entitlement, $450,000. Funding for the grant administration, 20%. Funding for public service, job training, up to 15%. $67,500, and funding for the capital projects and micro enterprise programs, $292,500. Okay, and let me zoom out just a little bit so we can see all this. You can see the ARPA awards here under column F, which I will gray out here so we can see it. And we can see job training, public services, Coffee Oasis, their Hope Incorporated job training program. So I guess these things are scored. They got an 89 out of 100, and they requested $79,750. And this is not funded by the CDBG grant. So this would come out of that ARPA money. Okay. Then there are some capital projects and micro enterprises. And when you come down here, you see KCR asked for weatherization and minor home repair, $50,000. They got a 93 out of 100. For $50,000. And then KCR also asked for their best program, which is their entrepreneurship program.
Can we just say,
they got an 80 out of.
I don't understand the weatherization. I mean, I guess it does rain a lot here, but I keep seeing this weatherization come up everywhere. I don't know. They really getting a lot of mileage out of the weatherization. That's all I'm saying.
They do get a lot of mileage out of the weatherization. And, you know, yeah, they definitely have their hands in a lot of cookie jars. And then $60,000 here awarded. So when you add these up, this comes up to $189,750. And here is a little definition on the ARPA. I'll just zoom out on that so we can see the whole thing there. ARPA is the American Rescue Plan Act that provided grant funding to the city of Bremerton to address economic stabilization for households and businesses. The Project Review Committee recommends utilizing some of these funds to support work that implements the intention of funding. There's a Project Review Committee, so that's the PRC, right? All these acronyms. Recommendation for funding contingencies if City Council accepts the recommendation to utilize ARPA expenditures. If the amount of the CDBG funding is less than $450,000, then PW&U receives a reduction in the amount of their award equal to the annual award reduction. The Parks grant maintains award at 100% of request. If the amount of the CDBG funding is more than $450,000, additional funds roll into next year's process. So again, and I don't quite understand this, but what it sounds like to me is if more of us knew about this and we applied for it, then, hey, there's more demand. Maybe there's more money that comes in the following year, right? But more people can't apply if they don't know. Again, when you're also looking here at this category here, right? Micro enterprises. So I think of like organizations like mine or Up From Slavery, right? Those would probably be considered micro enterprises, right? Surviving Change, Living Life Leadership, on and on and on. All right. So PCR recommendations for contingencies if City Council does not accept grant awards with ARPA funding. If the amount of CDBG funding is less than $450,000, then weatherization award maintained at 100%, and Hope and Company Job Training Program maintains 15% of annual CDBG award. If the amount of CDBG funding is more than $450,000, additional funds roll into next year's process. So, it's like, well, by default, if no organizations apply, right? KCR is huge. Well, they just get funded at 100%, them and Coffee Oasis. So it's like, am I reading that wrong?
I don't know. Thank you for looking into this, because I don't know anything about any of this. Which goes to show that it takes a bunch of us like watching all this, because this is really important, and so it totally went past my radar. So I don't know anything about this really.
Yeah, it's just something else. And then PRC contingencies beyond the scenarios outlined above. If there's anything beyond these contingencies, then the project review committee will reconvene. So again, Dr. Lillian presented to the council Wednesday. She's coming back next Wednesday. And the deadline is at the end of the month. So it does not give a lot of time. And again, I definitely feel some kind of way about it. And the reason why I do is, look, I attend many of the same meetings and boards as many of these other leaders here in the community. None of us know about this, right? Very few of us know about it. And so if there's an opportunity, again, there's plenty for everyone, right? This doesn't have to be a zero-sum game. And I often say, look, I can't do every aspect, right? So maybe you're running the program and I'm providing the food, or I'm providing the transportation, and this one is offering this particular expertise or whatever, right? We can all come together and make the thing work. It doesn't have to be I need all this money because my organization or my program can't run if I don't have all of it. And here, if I am interpreting the language correctly, it's like, look, if there's more of a request in the funding, it's going to roll into next year. So you would want more people at the table actually saying, hey, let's come on and let's do this. Or maybe, maybe we do a really huge project. So instead of us serving, 50 people, then maybe we serve, 200 people. Or maybe we serve those 50 people in a more holistic manner and really be able to, give them some really impactful services beyond, the scope of just a, small organization doing the best they can. So, yeah, I will share this information as soon as I get it. I do want to show you the response from the mayor. So I will show you whatever correspondence I can share. I won't always be able to share correspondence if I don't have permission to do so. So just know that.
This is good stuff.
Well, you bring good stuff all the time. You bring the heat, Jeff. The high heat. Is that a baseball term? I'm not a baseball guy.
Sounds like it. Yeah.
It sounds like it. Oh, you're not a baseball guy either?
No, that fits.
Okay. Sounds good. All right, let me see if I can find this email. So I'm having all kinds of hell with my email. So I can't actually access my G2 email on my home computer. It's only on my phone. So we are working on these things. But as such, it makes it incredibly challenging trying to get all this stuff.
Oh, where's my button?
Doing what it's supposed to do.
Did I get my plug in here for Rebecca Parsons?
No, go ahead and put your plug in there. Now, I have to say, G2 does not endorse any candidate because I can't. But yes, you can put your plug in there.
Oh my God, I would love to have two Democrats running against each other in the 6th district to have a real progressive versus whatever the other side is. But
Well, talk a little bit about it, because I don't
well,
know
okay,
anything
so
about
I don't know
this.
if people or maybe some people don't realize it, but in Washington State, it's a top two ballot, and so that was really meant to take the parties out of the process a little bit, because people were saying, people always say, "Oh, the parties have too much control," and so one of the ways they've got or tried to get around that popular wise is to have the top two. So whoever the top two candidates are, those are the top. Those are who face off then in November for that position. And in this case, we're talking about the congressional House seat, which is now it now has Derek Kilmer is the congressman. He inherited it from Norm Dix. And they're just very centrist, very pro military spending. I don't know how is this a nonpartisan? But yeah, but I really like Rebecca Parson. Rebecca Parson is she's more of a Bernie Democrat. Definitely pushing for social programs, definitely pushing to demilitarize things and switch funds back to housing. And she's been a huge housing advocate in Tacoma. And I would just, anyways, go check him out before you vote. Don't just go with Derek. I think people just go with, oh, he's been congressman for, I don't know, as long as I've been around. Why not? But look at the other person, and we could have two Democrats. So, spread the wealth. All right, there's my
Would you
campaign pitch.
do you know her?
I do. I've met with her. Actually marched with her in the Bainbridge 4th of July parade this year.
Oh,
Yeah.
really? Would you like to invite her onto the conduit? I'd love to have her
Oh, I
interview her.
think she would love to. I mean, I can't. I
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
speak for her, obviously, but yeah.
Well, if
Yeah.
you can set that up, Mondays, Fridays, and Thursdays are the best days, but I can make an exception for a weekend,
Yeah, I will definitely pass that on.
and I'll reach out to Derek. So
Yeah,
if I do understand, if I have a candidate on, I do send the invitation out
good.
to all.
Well, that
Uh,
would be fantastic to get Derek and um, Rebecca on there, because Derek has not allowed himself to be in the same room with Rebecca for 2 years now. She ran last year and she got, I don't know, 350,000. I don't know, a lot of votes. And but he has not faced her in a debate at all. Although I think that's changing on Monday. The League of Women Voters is having their candidate forums. Oh, and let me
mhm.
put in a plug for them too. If you're not tuned into the League of Women Voters candidate forums, you should be, because they're always really good. I don't know. I remember when I was a kid that they used to run the presidential debates, and it was just so much better. But I'm gonna see if I can find the link to that. But anyways, I think on Monday they're having the 6th congressional district debates, which will feature Derek Kilmer and Rebecca Parson at the same time, which would be interesting. Um,
Is that the League of Women Voters
yeah, League of
that's
Women
doing that?
Voters. Yeah, Kitsap League of Women Voters.
Okay. Send me that link. If I don't have a conflict, I will do that. And then remind me to ask you a question once we're offline. While Jeff is getting
Okay.
that information, let me go ahead and read the response from our mayor. All right. And so I sent the email to the mayor on Friday. And like I said, so far, city council has been very responsive to emails responding to me. So as you can see, I sent this email Friday, July 15th at 12:44 p.m. And he responded at 7:25 p.m. And he said, "Thank you for your email. The city has been working on bridging the digital divide and providing opportunity to members of our community who may be underrepresented in STEM fields." Well, who are, there's no maybe. This happens to coincide with the vision of Bishop Larry and Dr. Lillian Robertson, who share the same vision and goals. We are working together to restart the coding program with a goal of expanding into greater science, technology, engineering, and math opportunities. Sarah Lineman is the Community Development Block Grant Administrator. She oversees the program and the process for administering those funds through an application process. this occurs on an annual basis, right? So this is every year. Man, I've been in business for 4 years. I should have been in on this. It is my understanding that the window of opportunity is still open to apply for these funds, and Sarah can provide more information. The ARPA funds are from a different source with different requirements. The city does not have an application process for these funds. Take care. I hope that you have a nice weekend. So, like I said, I will continue to follow up on this information as it comes in and share it out to you. And you also may share. So, again, a big reason to subscribe, like, and share. My intent is to get these types of things out to everyone. Out to everyone. All right. This is the League of Women Voters here. Their candidate forums. And so Monday at 6:30 p.m. Is
Well, that one's
when they will be on.
Is that the past? Yeah, so they have the past one, and also you can look at the tapes too. Tara Simmons did hers for that district. But important, I forgot this part. Scroll down to the bottom. Keep where it says does the for the the CD6 Congressional District 6. So scroll up just a little bit more. Yeah, that one right there. So. This is you have to pre-register to watch this. It's the only one you have to pre-register for because I'm sure it involves Derek Kilmer, and when you're the guy in power, you make the rules.
They want to make sure they capture your info, right?
I don't know why they're requiring this only for the one involving Derek Kilmer. Actually, that'd be an interesting question to ask. I'm not sure why. I don't know. It's a good question. But none of the other forums you don't have to register. I haven't had to register. There was a really good one with the commissioners that you can also go back and look at. Laomi was really, really good in that one in terms of, well, I'm biased towards the housing, but she just seems really strong on housing. So yeah, those are great debates. I really like those debates myself.
Good. So the last thing I wanted to do before we went away, I did promise that I would open up that application here so that you could take a look at it. And let me just make sure that I post this information in a place so I know tomorrow. And see, I was just saying, Jeff Jeff and I were talking about how busy I am, right? And so I have a conversation with someone and then I'm doing something else. So it's like, oh, now there's something to watch tomorrow. It's like that's how it goes for me. Wonder I get anything done. All right, I just need to send that to myself so I have it there. All right, so the date, and you just fill it on in. And what I like to do is, I'll go through some of these things for folks just because many haven't filled out an online application and it can seem kind of scary. You can sign in to save your progress. If you don't sign in, that means you got to do it all right here. Otherwise, it's all going to disappear. So if you don't have a stable connection or, things happen to your computer, you might want to sign in and do that. Okay. There's my address. .org. Master in Education. 4.0, by the way. Is that summa cum laude?
Nice.
Like Jeff Campbell. And not too bad for a guy with a GED who only finished the 9th grade, huh? O'Reilly. That for references. I'll put their phone numbers in later and not have that on air. And what am I interested in? Maybe the audit committee, definitely Bremerton housing. I don't know if you knew, Jeff. I was a commissioner for the Bremerton Housing Authority when Patty Lent was mayor.
I did not know that.
I served for almost a year, and I started G2, and then I was a conflict of interest because they were paying me to teach computer literacy courses at their complex up there by Winco, and so yeah, you know. So when you think about STEM, you know, hey, I think I'm right there with all that STEM stuff. I used to be part of the digital literacy board at Olympic College.
All good stuff. All good.
Yeah. All right. I think that's I don't know what the planning commission is. All right. So those things are good. Is this a reappointment? No. How long have you lived in Bremerton? Oh, 1997 is when I moved here. So this is 25 years. Good Lord. Half my life. Make change. Community leader. Now you can have a more in-depth answers there, but I don't think that you need to write a thesis here. Okay. Have you ever worked on a Bremerton board? Yes, Bremerton Housing Authority. As
This
a
form,
commissioner.
how long is this form?
Almost over.
Okay, good. Because yeah, how many? I don't know. I look at barriers to entry. Like forms to me seem to me like they can be a barrier to entry now. I don't know.
That's why I like going over these, so people can actually see
Yeah,
what it
but
takes.
why do they have to ask? Because I might get to this point and say, why you gotta know this? If I'm the one volunteering, tell me about what you're doing. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
I don't know. It feels like a job
Housing.
application. Something rubs me wrong for some reason. I don't know why. But maybe it does. I don't know. But the same thing with the college applications. It's like, okay, so if you admit everyone, why do I have to fill out a 20-page form to get into college?
Right.
I think it's the bureaucracy leading the purpose sometimes.
For sure. But what I wanted to show everyone was that's it. I'm
Yeah,
done.
that's not
I have filled out this application. I'm done. So the only thing I would do, and I would, like I said, I'll do it offline. If you don't mind typing your phone number in the private chat there, I'll put that in under the references. And let me go ahead and just block that out there. But that's all it takes, right? It doesn't take a lot. But as Jeff was saying, many times, you know, there appear to be these barriers. And it's like, oh man, I've got to apply for it. What do I have to do? I got to get my references. I got to do all this stuff. And it's like, actually, there wasn't a whole lot to do here. This is pretty quick. I did this in what, maybe 5 minutes?
Yeah.
You know, at best. Like I said, my answers may have been a little bit longer. Again, I would say, one, it's just I'm stubborn, but two, I believe that I possess some privilege in not that everyone in the city knows me, but whoever reviews this, they are gonna know who I am, and so because of that, I'm like,
Yeah, I'm
well,
not. Yeah, I wouldn't. I encourage people to do the form. Yeah, don't worry. Don't let it be a barrier because um it's part of the systemic thing. That's where I have a problem with it from because I think it is meant as a barrier, but don't let it be a barrier. It's not that big of a hurdle to get over to get in. And then once you get on the board, then you can say, let's revamp this whole system for choosing for getting volunteers and bringing people in. Maybe I don't know.
well, I like what you're saying. I think to support what your statement there. The other thing is the more people that can come on to these things together, the better. Because that change, you're seeing what Daryl is going through, right? He's there, and in a lot of ways feels very isolated, and the lone voice. And so it is hard to make change when you're, you know, it seems like you're fighting against the system. Well, he is fighting against the system. And it appears that there really is little in the way of allies. And not that it's not existent, but they don't have the lived experience, right? So there's only so much they're going to be able to advocate for. All right, so I got that piece in there. Let me go ahead and turn that back on.
I guess what I'm saying is these are barriers, and they're intentional barriers. I think to that it goes back even with voting, right? The more hoops you put in, the less people are likely to even vote. So it's the more we can push down those barriers, the better. I'm just saying.
All right, I'm gonna hit the submit button.
Uh-oh, you may have more on your plate pretty soon here.
Oh man, well I'll probably have an announcement here in a week. Because not for this, something else that's in the background that might be finalized this week. So all right, I already got my reply that that has been submitted, and that's it, right? That's it. So again, I put that link in the chat if you want to do that, and I'll do that again just so you have it. If you want to get involved, Daryl shared with you what the requirements were. Not a lot to it, but your voice can make a difference. Your ideas actually can be heard. And, you know, I know most people come out for the presidential election, but I think, you know, local election is even more important than the presidential election. I think it actually pushes up and not down.
I agree with that.
You agree with that, Jeff?
I do agree with that completely. Yes.
So we can change it this way. Well, you got anything else? I think we had a pretty great show. Did we miss anything?
No, that was really good. Really good. Much less talking for me, which improves the show.
No, I don't think so. You got a lot to teach, you know.
I got a lot of opinions anyway.
No, but you come with facts and data, right? And it's great because you're an analyst.
Yeah.
So that really helps to sort out what numbers are saying, and what people are trying to say, and maybe what's not being said that's actually in the numbers. Right. So yeah, I think you're definitely a super important cog in this machine. You know.
Thanks.
For sure. All right. So Jeff says, man, we did a good job today. Man, we did it in what, 2 hours? Not bad. Chock full.
Nice.
We'll be back next Sunday.
Thanks.
Lord willing. All right. So for Jeff, I'm Marwan, and thanks again to our guest, Daryl Riley. We will be back next week. Again, I will air the city council meeting at 12, and then we will do our follow-up show on Sunday. So hope to see you there. All right.